I know you're all getting organized, but I'm going to call the meeting to order because we are on, and it's a little late, and I'm sure you'll all catch up. So I'll be patient and wait. But
Why did you take two?
I thought I needed
You snatched it up.
How you doing?
How's it going?
Not bad.
Don't I get
so, yeah, Louise may need to sit there, Mary. When Louise is coming, she's going to
Yeah,
wait.
I know, I'm
Sitting
going
at
over.
Okay,
that spot for
that's
you.
fine.
I'm just getting organized here.
these here? Put them out.
Thank you all, and welcome. I'm glad everyone's here, because we are short a few people. Bob Stetson is recovering from his surgery still, and Susan Dunn
Now you get
is
extras of all
not
kinds of
coming.
stuff.
I'm not exactly sure why, but anyway, she called and she's not going to be able to make it. So she just returned. She's been gone for a
Got
while.
one set?
Yeah.
Okay,
now I
good.
have one.
All right.
So
Okay.
I think we're good to go. Everyone has their packet and the agenda.
You need someone to take minutes.
And, that's right, I am looking for a volunteer to take the minutes of the meeting and write them up because Bob is not here. We need someone to do that little job. And
No one brought a.
no one brought up, no. No. I have previously volunteered to do that, but I can no longer volunteer to do that and run the meeting at the same time. So one of you needs to step up to the plate and be the acting clerk.
No, I better not.
Mary, can't you do that?
No.
You have a lot of
My big
experience.
computer is off and the iPad, he is always on. No, I better not. You did it before.
No, I haven't.
Well, whoever does, if you want to take the minutes
No,
and write them, I can put them on my computer for you and then print them, you know.
No, thank you. I'm not all here. I've been rushing since,
Pamela, is there a laptop in the office? I imagine no.
There's an ancient laptop.
Does it work just to
It,
record a basic file?
right, but
Uh-oh.
you're asking me to take the minutes?
Can I suggest that if I make a DVD copy to Bob, could he transcribe the minutes from that?
That's a wonderful suggestion.
That would be awesome.
Yes, it would.
Let's just do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Yes, Mark came to the rescue. We all owe him big time, I think. So, and Mark will do a DVD of the meeting, and we'll ask Bob to write the minutes from that. We can do that, right? So,
Yeah.
okay,
Questions they can always call me.
correct.
Madam Chair, while we're
Yes.
talking about that, the IT tech got us a computer for this COA for the board.
There is a computer in the office, a laptop. I said there was a computer down there.
And that was the purpose of that, was to have it so that in case something happened, somebody on the board could use the computer to,
I didn't know
Bob.
that myself, so thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
In the future, if we are aware of the fact that we have the need, we'll have to dig it up and see if it can be functional.
It ain't too antiquated, because she got it, I think, from the police department, when they upgraded their computer, so
Well,
she said that she would get a good computer for us, so.
And I
Yes.
can bring mine. I should have thought of it when I saw Bob was going to be out. I can bring mine.
no shoulda, woulda, couldas, we don't do that.
If it comes up again, then just, I'll bring my laptop and I'll do it.
Okay.
So it's no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, we'll make a little note of that you
Yeah.
have offered to do it, and
I will be Bob's
Yeah.
backup.
thank you.
Yep, and I'll bring my laptop.
All right, so, now that we've solved that big problem, we need to just remember to notify you.
Yeah.
All righty. So I think we can skip over the members present. I've already announced who's not going to be here that I'm aware of. Louise Curley is coming late, so she will be here. Welcome, Mr. Crystal, and everyone else. Tina and our friends. So, I would like to remind everyone, this is an open meeting, and we do have a law that dictates that all of our meetings should be open, and that we are being televised. I also would like to suggest and ask, I would ask rather than suggest, that people put their cell phones on vibrate. I'm not asking you to shut them off, just that they be on vibrate. And, well, you can shut it off if you choose to, but it's up to you. But even on vibrate, at least it's not ringing and interrupting.
Yes, because mine was ringing
Well,
last time.
Oh,
well, it is, and I forget. I'm the first one to say that I sometimes forget to do that when I should have it on vibrate. I'm always get to church, and it's halfway through church, and I remember, oh, put the phone on vibrate,
Well,
So,
mine
but
usually
it is
doesn't.
hard to remember,
It was
so.
a doctor's appointment, so.
If you leave it on the table, it's gonna boo.
It does, yes, it does, and I was shocked the first, I'm not used to that, and it does, that's distracting to the individual especially. So, I always put mine on my lap, and then what happens then? You get a little tingle from the vibration. So, I think it's just good to remind people to do that. All right. So, we have a copy of the minutes in the packet. I'm sorry, I kind of did not ask you people if you had any announcements, and I apologize. Anyone have an announcement? No? Okay, then we'll move on to the minutes. And Bob very nicely has provided them to us. Does anyone have any corrections?
I just have a question.
Uh-huh.
Under the new business, under the vote needed to request the Board of Selectmen's approval to approve the area business in support of our transportation program. We had a lot of discussion about the deficit and the request for $15,000. None of that is mentioned, and I didn't know whether or not it was important to put in about that discussion. We had asked Pam about
Right.
what the deficit was.
I
and she
think, was
talked
that
about-
not also in our previous minutes? We talked about it in the meeting before, I think? The transportation deficit, I think it had already been recorded, if I'm not mistaken, in the minutes previously. I don't know that it had, we were voting, that issue was strictly to get the letter out to the businesses and to have the selectmen's approval to do that in relationship to the whole transportation issue, which,
Previous month, we
Right.
discussed it in
Is it
relationship
in
to
the
the
previous
newsletter.
minutes about that it may become a town budget in a couple of years? We had also talked about that.
well, I don't know that that's the important issue at that point. And we did talk about that. I know it was in the minutes, but previous minutes, because we spent quite a bit of time talking about the whole issue and the need.
It was just
and
a
getting it
question
in-
I had.
right, and
Because
getting
I
it in the
wasn't here in
newsletter.
the past.
Okay. Well, it was and then getting it in the newsletter, that was when the whole issue came up, if I'm not mistaken. Is that other people's recollection of, you were
I
the
know
one
we had
speaking of
discussed it at the previous meeting in
Right.
relationship to the newsletter article.
Right.
And we had quite a discussion about it.
I knew that.
I don't remember how much discussion we had last time about it when we talked about the businesses.
I'm looking, I usually have a copy of the minutes with me, but I don't, so.
It was
That's
just a
good.
question I had.
That's okay. Thank you. It's a good question, though.
Madam Chair, no, you don't have to have all details in there. You just have to identify the subject, what action is taken by the board, and in the depth, they can go and look it up with regards to, because normally you file all of the documentation with the minutes on.
They're kept, you're
Yeah,
right.
they kept
Yep.
whatever's supporting documentation to it, is usually filed with the minutes.
And I recall, if I recall correctly, at the time, we talked about the issue of, getting the word out, and then the suggestion was, the discussion about different avenues, and then Pam, when Pam was talking to Keith, I think she brought it up with Keith, and that's why, that was the next step. And she wanted to get have our support to go to the selectmen requesting their approval to get a separate letter out to the businesses. Someone mentioned it at that previous discussion. What about businesses?
But the answer to her question, no, you do
That's
not
right.
have to.
You don't have to go into a lot of depth, it was just the issue over the boat, so. But it is a good question, because you're talking about keeping, you know, everything, all the pieces together, so to speak, about an issue, so. All right, other questions about the minutes?
Just to note, that point is in the January 12th minutes.
Thank you, I couldn't find my
Yeah,
copy.
it's elaborated a bit, new business 4A. Is it worth just reviewing?
Go ahead,
it,
if you
or-
would like to just remind us.
So it went a little bit beyond that point, but, you know, it's just new business 4A. Again, this is 12 January 2015. We need more money to provide drivers for needed trips, and we now have 500 or more riders a month. It was suggested we might appeal to the public for donations through the broadcaster sent one time to every household in town. The selectmen would still need to approve the idea after receiving this vote of support. George Sanders noted that the MARC budget is a town program and should be paid by the town where there is an overage. It was noted, and it is possible the selectmen could suggest cutting services to avoid a deficit, which would be completely unacceptable to this board. Henry Crystal suggested we include a dollar number for the anticipated deficit for this year in the letter to the selectmen. A vote was moved, seconded, and passed unanimously to support the broadcaster appeal for transportation donations.
Yeah, and then Pam took it as the next step to talk to Keith about it, and then the idea of, and the whole process of getting a separate letter out to the businesses came forth, and
And then
then,
in the proposal that went to the Board of Selectmen that I had to prepare is where we put the figure of $15,000.
right,
Yeah, I think that's why I brought up the issue of why we didn't mention the amount, because the last time we did mention the
Oh,
amount.
okay.
I think that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, there's a little gap between them.
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Are there other questions or corrections?
I have a correction to be made. It's under old business, item C, the update on needs assessment. Dr. Muchler's name is misspelled, and I will
Oh, yes,
convey that to Bob and get him to correct that.
it's M-U-C-H-L-E-R,
M-U-T-C-H-L-E-R.
thank you,
What's that one?
C-H-L-E-R,
M-U-T-C-H-L-E-R.
I left out an L also, thank you.
Notice that.
All right, thank you very much. If there are no other comments or corrections,
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as corrected.
Second.
thank you. All those in favor? And any oppositions or abstentions? I think so, thank you. All right. So, we can go right to the Friends and find out all what great things are coming up, because I know there's a lot of great things coming up.
Yes, and we're excited about it. March 18th is the St. Patrick's Day luncheon, and I hope everyone who wanted to go has signed up, because we're at our quota. And we need to have people understand that we need them to sign up. We can't have walk-ins when someone is catering, because, you know, it's very hard on them, although we do plan on a few more, but definitely you need to sign up if you're going to be going. And like I said, we are up to 80 people already, and that's what we had thought we could go to. But those of you who have signed up, we're hoping you have a good time. Also, in April, as you all know, is coming our second annual Senior Follies. We're looking forward to that. We've been working hard on it. We'll start selling the tickets early in April, and Barbara Cam is going to be handling those tickets. And you can also go to anyone who's in the cast and see if they have any tickets.
What's the date?
The date of the Follies is April 26th, a Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's published as 2.
Is it? I thought she changed it to 3.
It's in the broadcast as 2.
Well, plan on 2 to 3, between 2 and 3, because it's one time in the broadcaster and another on the flyers. But Sunday afternoon, plan on that. And let's see, what else? Yeah, the tickets will be $5. And it's at the middle school, same as last year.
Wonderful.
And we think it's funnier, maybe. We hope it is.
And don't forget, I'm one of the stars.
This is the first time she has said she is one of the stars. Usually it's the star. She is one of the stars. And let's see, what else do we have? We haven't planned on the volunteer lunch yet. I know, but not to announce it yet.
Okay. And June will be a fashion show. And as you know, the superintendent of schools, the school department is throwing a spaghetti luncheon. And I think they're sold out, or if not, they're just about sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Limit was 75, and I think Pam said they're just about at that number now.
Yeah, they did the same thing last year. If anybody went, it was really
Yeah, it
lovely.
was.
It was.
And it was unfortunate. I think that people unfortunately had tickets, but then a few didn't show up, and so that's always unfortunate when that happens.
Another thing that we want to remind people about is the intergenerational programs that we are doing, and we're doing one with the Parker School. We're planning that. We're in the planning phase of that date and what we're going to do, but it is nice to see as many seniors. Well, actually, we only have a limit there too, I think, right?
Yes.
How many seniors can come?
Yes, it's a small amount because they want one student per senior, and last year there were only 13 students. So there was 13 students and 13 teachers, seniors, sorry.
Yeah. Another thing to sign up early.
Yes, but we'll let you know when we know. We're meeting this afternoon to go into detail. Excuse me, if you want to sign up for the St. Patrick's Day luncheon, and it's already booked, I would suggest you put down your name and phone number. If we have a cancellation, we'll notify you. Okay?
Barbara, are you through? I have a question. If the light and water, you announced the date, but I forgot it.
Oh, I didn't announce it right now.
On TV you did.
Oh.
It's the Wednesday of school vacation.
It's the 11th, isn't it?
Is it? And you have the
That's school
tickets here?
vacation.
You have the tickets here?
No, Pamela
They haven't
has
done
those.
Yeah. Okay.
The 11th of March, I guess you're talking about?
April.
That's a Saturday. Right.
Is
School vacation's a little bit later.
Wednesday of school vacation.
it?
I have it down. Isn't it the 22nd?
Wasn't I?
That's all right.
Tell you that another night.
The date for
And the water department luncheon is the 22nd at the Russell School.
Okay, 22nd.
the 22nd.
My apologies for the lateness of these, they got left downstairs at tonight.
The water department luncheon is at the Russell School. And I think that, and Pamela does have the tickets in the office. And they also, I think, are going quite fast. This kind of was spoken to. I just would like to make one comment. I think the fact that for the Friends, it's in addition to the work you do, that your tickets go so quickly. The minute you get the word out about something, that the tickets are gone. Because they know,
Encourage them.
well, and also they know the quality of the events that you put on, and everybody doesn't want to miss one. So, yeah, really, I think it is
Oh my
a
gosh, the stress now.
I know.
Well, it is a testament to everybody's acceptance and wanting to be there. So,
Well, we
and
wanted
and
to
how
come in.
well you people do. So, thank you, really.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the Friends?
Thrift shop sale? The thrift shop sale?
Oh, yeah, if you want to know about the thrift shop sale, that's coming up. I think it starts the 16th, $3 a bag, and it's 2 weeks.
And
then
then
we're
closed
closed.
for a week?
And then we're closed the third week, which is going to be the 6th of April, I believe. We close the shop for a week. And then we've got all that wonderful stuff to come out.
All right. Any other questions or comments for the Friends? Then let's move on to our old business. And access to town meeting for seniors.
There are 2 items in your packet on this, one from Patty, one from Patty and Chris.
I'm gonna go first, because yours was, we were first with the town, and then I was after with Tim.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, great. I'll brief on the first and Patty will on the second. So one is an update to the initiative in general. So we covered this as a board at the last 2 monthly meetings. And so this is an update to that. And the board had decided in its last meeting that this should be transacted within a subcommittee, is how we should pursue and gather some information. And one of the next steps, I think the board had decided at that time, was that we should get some thoughts from the town administrator and the town clerk, just validate we're on the right track as far as putting a subcommittee together and what some of the initial ideas were that were reflected in the first memo. So Patty and I did do that. That conversation occurred on February 24th with both Keith Bergman and with Diane Quarry. And we had a good discussion. And so we kind of focused in that conversation on some of the, call it, lower hanging fruit, those more impactful initiatives that could be implemented in the shortest period of time and with the least amount of cost. And so why not start there, just by way of prioritization? And there are some good things to focus on initially. And so those included, and they're outlined in the memo, parking at town meeting, floor seating at town meeting and the use of a mobile microphone, ordering of the town meeting articles on the warrant, and added a new idea that came through the brainstorming. I think it was the town administrator who suggested some sort of social pre-town meeting event.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, we can, and so it's, if the board's had a chance to read that, I think Patty and I could entertain questions on it, and then probably just highlight the key next steps.
Madam Chair,
Yes, George?
if you could give us a recap of each one of these articles, I think it would be easy to keep it moving. That way we can come up with, if there's any questions.
Is that?
Do you want to
okay?
go ahead and just, summarize briefly?
Yeah.
Yeah, just highlight them.
Absolutely. Patty, and please correct
Okay,
any
yeah.
place where I get off track on this. So parking at town meeting, it was identified that there are 35 spots at the middle school. And many of those are signed, they'll all have a sign or signage. Some of that signage is temporary, and some of the signage varies, it sounds like. And so there needs to be an awareness campaign in all likelihood as to where those 35 spots are and how they might be, what the sign might look like, in that it might not be the same, and what to look for. And so the town clerk is preparing a description of a drawing of the parking lot, where those spaces are and what to look for as far as the signage. And that could then get folded into a bulletin and maybe an email alert from us. So some awareness. Now, 35 spots, is that enough or not? It's more than we used to have. The town clerk and others have been working on this. So it has increased over recent years. And so some of it's just about awareness as to where those spots are, and then perhaps enforcement to make sure that those spots are reserved, because they don't all necessarily say, only for seniors. And so some of them are handicapped specifically, some of them aren't. And so we need just to build some awareness around the way those 35 spots are, what the signage says. And so there's an awareness campaign, but that will follow getting that content from the town clerk, and I think that's the next step on that one.
If you think about when we go to vote, and there are all the people who are running for voting, and you drive in, and you can park, and then you can't park because they're all lined up with their tents and whatever. They've been pushed back
Good.
So all of the spaces that they took up are now going to be designated as part of those 35 places. So you get to think of driving in, where you get dropped off, they're designated, and then where those people were standing, you know, vote for me, they've been moved back. So that's another closer to the school for
Are we
parking.
talking about town meeting now, or are we talking about election day?
Well, it's going to be both.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I was using that as the analogy to show you how much closer more parking would be available for seniors. So where the politicians were politicking for your vote, at election time, those spaces are now going to be available at town meeting
Good.
for senior parking. Even though, and for senior and handicapped. And it's going to depend upon how the town figures out
Right.
for signage that we need to promote to the seniors. And that's what Diane is working on, trying to put together.
That's very exciting, I think.
And that makes a big difference.
I think something you probably need to bring up is that the state law says how close they can get on election. It says how close that they can get to the voting. So they usually mark that off. And that usually comes around where the handicap parking is at the middle school over there. And now you're saying that the people are going to be pushed back, but the law said they can get that close. So I think that's
That who
something.
can get that close?
Well, that's something
The candidates, there's a certain distance that you have to
Well,
be.
Diane is working, I mean, Diane has figured it out apparently between the town and the politicians, so they've worked that out.
Well, I'm just saying where the boundary is, they mark it off. They actually mark it off, and as a candidate, you cannot get no closer than that with a sign. And the only thing I'm saying is that where you're talking about is where the handicap parking is in that parking lot now.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good point. I have a feeling that the regulations with respect to the signage and the handicap spaces and what have you probably trumps that particular provision. But I know what George is talking about. There's that perforated line. It looks like a free throw line, you know, in the parking lot. But that's again specific to voting day. And we're really, it was a good illustration Patty shared, just as far as that line where some of those 35 spaces are. But of course, we're really talking about the 2 evenings a year town meeting occurs where there aren't tents and politicians. And so it's just a good visual as to where some of those 35 spaces are, how close they are. I think that's the point we're making.
right.
Yeah.
So, as time goes on, too, I'm sure Diane and the town will not be violating any laws.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I have confidence in their, yes, I have confidence in their skills, so.
Okay, so the next issue, we can come back and talk about any of these. The next one is floor seating at town meeting. So we had discussed as a board that it would be nice if there could possibly be more floor seating, especially in that first section of the gymnasium when you walk in, so that closest to kind of the main entrance and the restrooms. If it's possible to get some more seats there, or somehow reserve those for seniors or folks with handicap that would best be able to really take advantage of those chairs that they're in front of that screen, which is nice. And if that is the case, and there are more available floor seating that inherently is more comfortable and safer for our seniors than certainly trying to navigate the bleachers. And then if that is the case, we could direct some additional town services like a mobile microphone to seniors raising their hand who would like to ask a question or make a comment. And that saves the senior from having to get up and go all the way to that middle station where there's sometimes a long line. So just waiting in the line could be, problematic, or, getting through the rows or what have you. So if we could even just an adjustment like that could really increase the comfort and safety and therefore participation of our seniors. And there is a space issue. There are only so many rows that can physically fit there, but the town clerk had offered to look at that and have a conversation with the appropriate folks. Maybe 2 or 3 more rows could go. We certainly can encourage people to allow that to be, seating for seniors or those with disabilities that most need the floor seats, and we would do that, or Diane and the town would work on that. And so then it's the issue of the mobile microphone. That brings up a conversation just about logistics. So how would that work? So there are folks in line in the middle of the gymnasium, and there's a virtual line, if you will, those folks raising their hand from the special section. And so that just brought up a logistics question. It sounded like something that could get accomplished. It sounds like we've had a practice of the mobile microphone in the past, but nonetheless, it was worth having a conversation and not required to really, at that point, check in with and get the thoughts of the town meeting moderator, which Patty has already done, and she'll comment on in a moment. And so that's where we are on that. We're still doing, so the town clerk's doing a little bit of research on how much more room do we have for floor seats. Just getting our hands on the mobile microphone, the conversation that's occurred with Tim Goddard, and finally it will be up to us to find a volunteer who would, run with that microphone.
And the one thing I would add on to this paragraph, this section is also set up with the closed caption on the
Right.
monitor for
On the left there.
hearing impaired people like myself. The first row or two is usually set aside for hearing impaired people. Like when I go to town meeting, I have to sit up front so I can read, because I don't hear anything at the town meeting. So seniors coming in who are not hearing impaired would sit like the third row and back, because they probably can hear.
Right.
Somebody deaf like myself would sit up really in the front seat. So there's education to be done as well.
Once everything is resolved and decided upon, yeah, yep.
How are we going to make the public aware of all this?
Well, that's the education, but I don't think we're quite there yet. We need to have it all crystallized, and then we can, I think, talk about how we're going to educate. Yes, George?
The question is that the town have, the non-registered voters that comes to the town meeting just want to know what's going on and so forth and so on. Now, those people usually is sitting on that side over there. So how are they going to distinguish that when it comes to a vote? Because now you're going to have the seniors over there in that same section area where there's the non-voters. So you got to sort of kind of separate these non-voters from that particular area over there and making sure that they're not into that location there. And one of the things they might want to consider is that the moderator, based on the people, you can say whoever want to speak, line up, and he can take it alternate, one at the mic, then one senior, altered that way as a means of trying to get the seniors to say whatever they want to say. That's just a suggestion, maybe.
Okay, I'm sure Patty will get into her discussion with Tim, I'm sure, but I know,
Barbara has her hand.
and so does Henry. I'm aware of that. I'm aware. I was waiting for George.
The gentleman in front.
I realize that, yes. I saw Henry's hand, thank you. So, and I just wanted to say, Patty hasn't really spoken about her meeting with Tim yet. So why don't we wait until we hear that part of it? Yes, who has their hand up? I saw Henry's hand. Is that yours, Barbara? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll be very brief, but this is a very interesting discussion. And some points have been made here today which are valuable in pointing out the grand problem with the public being able to vote. I was unable to vote in the last two town meetings that were important to me because there was no parking. It didn't matter that I was a senior. I could have parked on the lawn over there by the old grammar school, but that's not legal. If you go out to the very end, there was no parking. And 12 people in front of me drove through and left, as I did, at 7:02 on voting day. So there was not enough parking. And secondly is, if we get enough parking, we're going to fill out room capacity. Now, our goal should be to get more people to vote, and this is just great what you're talking about here. And one of the things that'll come out of it is, and with what Diane's doing, is maybe a checklist. You know, we start keeping score. How many spaces have we got? Who's parking? And I'm really, what is the magnitude of the problem is terrific. While I'm sitting here listening, and I'll say it once and I'll never say it again, but we got a big parking lot over there at the Point now. And we got school buses. I mean, is it beyond the realm of possibilities to think about busing people from the Point, you know, I don't know, to the town meeting? Because that would be a way of getting lots of people in there reliably. I don't know, it's just a thought.
Mr. Crisano, on the voter participation board?
I have been for 3 years.
So it seems to me that the grander scheme thing would be something that group should be looking at.
Yes, we should. We should have a meeting again, and we should get on with this, because...
That's not a board, a council on aging board
Yes,
issue
thank you.
itself, but I think
Right.
it's more of a town
But you guys are
issue.
doing more at it than some other people.
Well, I know, but we also have to keep it within our focus for seniors.
Our goal has been to try and find a way to accommodate more voters by modernizing how we vote, you
Right.
see, and that...
So that group would be the appropriate group to be looking at that topic, I think, so. And Barbara, did you have any?
I was just going to mention a small thing, and that was that usually don't the non-voters sit on the bleachers, though?
Yes,
I think so.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I think they do.
I know, I
Maybe they
saw
come
that.
down
Yeah.
in the seats, but basically they go up into the bleachers.
The last few times I've gone, I've sat on the left there, right, where you were saying we're non-registered voters, and I'm like, well, I didn't see a lot of non-registered when I've been sitting there,
There's a
but
sign there that
Yeah.
says non-voting
Yeah.
in the bleachers.
in the bleachers, but not down there,
Well, I
yes,
know they used to have it down there.
not now, I don't
No,
think.
They might have changed it.
Yes,
Anyway, they still need to separate that and take that into account.
Yeah.
Of course, to him about the parking, instead of saying going over to the mall there, you got lighted parking right here. So I'm saying at the town building here, I think as an alternative, I think that if the town wants to run the bus during that time, this, to me, this would be the place here that they can run, and that would help alleviate a lot of parking that there's a concern with the seniors, because they always come here anyway for everything else. If they go on the trips or et cetera, they come here and park. So I think that this is something that your board may want to look at as an alternative place here that's already lit.
right,
Yeah,
okay.
and I think that's a great point, and that's specific to, I think, our focus on increasing town meeting access for seniors, that using, the van from this parking lot to that parking lot.
We've already kind of, and you've looked at that, I
Yeah.
know you have.
That
yeah.
is. Could maybe we jump out of order a little bit in terms of the documents?
Could we let
Patty,
Mary,
right?
could I just ask that Mary has something she'd
Oh,
like
I'm
to
sorry.
say,
I didn't see Mary.
so.
All this sounds great. Van service from here, I'm all for it. There's one fly in the ointment, though. Many of the seniors don't all leave the same time.
Well, that
They'd have to set a time that they would be.
well, I think details like that could be worked out if we
Later,
actually
yeah.
get it set up. So that would be down the road too, once it gets set up, we'd be looking at
That's
things.
going to also be partially covered under 3, ordering the articles that
Right,
would be,
and
be of great interest
so
to the
let's,
seniors.
thank you. Thank you, Barry. Let's move on to the next piece of,
Before we go
thing that we
from
looked at.
2 to 3, the conversation with the town meeting moderator is within section 2. We should probably cover that just to keep some order to this, if it's okay.
okay, you're gonna do that.
Do you want to talk about your meeting?
With
Well, I
Tim?
can, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I met with Tim Goddard, the town moderator, on March 3rd, and shared him the memo that you folks have. And we talked about the floor seating town meeting microphone. And the meeting was very productive. I have to admit, I thought he was very receptive to the meeting and listening. And we talked about it, and he was in agreement with the proposal of a mobile microphone. We discussed the process and what needed to happen. One would be contact with Mark for the setup process. We would have to make arrangements with this Nancy Morrison, who I don't know, regarding ensuring that there is a volunteer present, and more importantly, that the volunteer is trained to perform the task. Tim also suggested that there might be a possibility of setting up another permanent microphone up front that would also benefit seniors who might be near the end and could stand up themselves and didn't need the benefit of the mobile microphone. But it would also help people up front who wouldn't have to go back and stand in line, which wouldn't call it a long line. And then we talked about you could alternate between the microphone in the back, the microphone in the front, the mobile microphone. He would rotate between all three locations or between two locations if we didn't have a permanent microphone in the front. He was open to any option that would not cause a line anyplace, wouldn't cause seniors standing for a long period of time. He was very open to that prospect. And I thought, well, that's a very good alternative. Nobody would be standing for a long time. So he thought that was very good, very open to it. He would also, when he's down around the town, talk to Mark about it, talk to selectmen as well when he sees them. So I thought that was a very positive feedback on that. He did kind of say, well, how many people are we talking about with the seniors? And I said, well, we haven't got a clue because, number one, we need to educate. But I think it will bring in more seniors. And it may bring in more people, generally, if there are no, they don't have to stand in line if there's only one microphone.
I think we've had sufficient, feedback to know there's a problem, and we don't know the numbers, but as word gets out, I bet we'll see it grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the order of the articles, as Chris mentioned. He also meets with the selectmen as they're putting the warrant together. And I thought bringing that up to him was a good idea, because now he's aware of the seniors. So, oh, that's a senior, we should move it up to the third article, because it has to go in that order of finances, 2/3 vote. So if he knows there's something on the agenda that impacts just seniors, oh yeah, Patty mentioned that, let's move it up. So that was a good thought.
You were educating.
I'm just sad at that. Move it up, move it up, move it up.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about the pre-social, and he really thought that was a very good idea, to bring in more people and using the senior center to park your car here, and either carpooling, which he thought was a good thing. If they didn't want to use the van, because if the van only runs at a certain time, if they were carpooling and didn't want to stay, they could carpool back here.
Which segues into the next number, the item number 3 here on the ordering of the articles.
So I think that
Go ahead.
Tim's meeting, I thought, was very productive. He seems to be very open to be moving around, not being delegated to just that one permanent. So he's very aware of what we're trying to do, separate from that other town committee that hasn't met for a while. So I thought it was very productive, and he's well on board with this.
Good.
Great. Thank you. Can we move on, George, or is it relative to something?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment with regards to people leaving. If we're going to use a bus, say for instance, the parking lot in the back, whoever is operating the bus, they could designate a certain time and say, okay, the bus is going to leave at this time. So anybody wanting to catch the bus, it's going to be leaving in 5 minutes. And go back to that part.
Well, I think if we can get to that point, then we can have a schedule, so people know if they want to leave early, they can leave at such and such a time, et cetera. So I think that's workable.
They'll probably just do loops the whole time of town meeting, back
Right.
and forth.
Okay, let's move on.
So we've already really
Third
covered
one.
the third and fourth items. I'll just round out just a couple highlights, and then we can come back and talk about next steps within each. So regarding the ordering of the articles on the town meeting warrant, so the selectmen were reminded that there is a new really procedure or best practice in place here over the last year or so, by way of the work of the selectmen and that committee, the voter participation committee. It had a, I'm sorry, Henry, it had a broader, bigger name than that, but that committee and the selectmen had done a lot of work on this. And there is a practice in town now where the articles are ordered in a certain manner.
Yeah.
And so that is, those items requiring a supermajority, right? That's what's first here? Yes, those are first. Then articles involving, financial topics and matters are second. And third are other. In that third other area, there's certainly some discretion that through dialogue with the selectmen and the town administrator, as the warrant is getting put together, as is the case right now for May 4th, then if there are articles we think are going to be of particular interest to the seniors, it's just a matter of, it's probably a little bit more art than science, but we just have to have dialogue and say there are some of those articles that fall in that third category, could you get those earlier in the evening? But otherwise, the practice in place is inherently aligned with our goal as we started this, because I think our seniors are too most interested in those supermajority and financial-related topics. So there is already a process in place that weights it favorably for seniors, and again, that comes down to awareness, because that's relatively new practice in town, and that is the procedure that the selectmen are following.
So to add that to the education list.
Yes.
Yes.
That procedure that they went on, not only was for the senior, it was for citizens,
Absolutely.
period, that was there to vote.
Absolutely, and including, so all citizens, including our seniors, but those topics that we would likely say are those which we'd like to see earlier are now earlier anyways, by way of this structure. So that's good. That's good news. It's good news for everybody. And finally, yeah, I mean, the idea of the pre-social event being here is because food can't be served there
Right.
at the middle school. And here we get the added benefit of the parking where we could then get the shuttle together to move seniors. So there are two significant advantages. The idea would be at what time? It wouldn't be a dinner event per se, but some sort of light refreshments or something. We'd have to coordinate where those come from and how. But those are some of the things to think about as we think about a social event here at somewhere in this building prior to town meeting, where maybe seniors can just network and enjoy time together. Maybe there'll be a discussion about those topics coming up at town meeting and
Come have dessert before we go to the town meeting.
something like that.
Something that's not a lot of work and a lot of heavy duty, yeah. All right,
those are four items.
I'd like to thank both of you. You've done a lot. And I'd also like to ask you when your next scheduled meeting is.
We have to schedule that.
So if you could, would you, since they're open meetings, they have to follow the open meeting law. So once it's scheduled and you know where, that it's posted and everything, can you let anybody here could
What is
attend?
we were wondering what the process is, because we haven't had our first.
You decide with Pam.
Speak to that?
You want to speak to that? Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay.
So I can post an agenda for the meeting. It has to be 48 business hours in advance, has to be 2 business days in advance. So for example, if you wanted to meet on a Monday, it would have to be posted early enough on Thursday to be before the start of the meeting on Monday.
Okay.
Can't post on Friday for a Monday meeting, for example.
Okay.
And don't forget holidays, because holidays are not considered business days. And generally for the subcommittees, we usually have a pretty general agenda. Just makes it simpler, so that neither are things on that don't get discussed or things get left off that ought to be discussed. So
Okay.
like the membership subcommittee, for example, usually has just a pretty general statement of what's going to be on the agenda. I'd be happy to post those for you as soon as you guys can agree on a date.
Communicate with Pam, and Pam usually attends, find a time, consult with her that she's available to, because she will attend and participate with you and help and guide you. She's been an invaluable resource, I think Barbara would agree with me there, with the membership subcommittee, as we've moved along, so, yeah. Yes, George?
I'd like to, if you're gonna meet with Keith and Diane, If you're gonna use the COA van, somebody need to calculate a budget in there to operate that van, for the rotating of, the people from the various locations. So, whether it come on the Diane's budget or the town budget, but somebody need to take that into account
More transportation money.
if they're going to, operate the COA van. Or a bus or whatever means of transportation, somebody needs to calculate who's going to budget for that money.
And George, if I can coattail on that, it is not permissible for someone to volunteer their time to drive the van. If a driver is driving the van, they have to be paid. Town policy. You can't volunteer to do your job with no wages being paid.
Patty?
I really think at this point, we've gotten these two documents and it's been presented to the board. I think at this point in time, we need to decide our next steps after this.
That's why you need to meet as a subcommittee
So
to
I
figure that
think
out and bring it back to the board.
That's right.
Yes.
There's, we've heard everything. Now it's time for us to meet and go down the next step and say, okay, this is all in place. Everybody's in agreement with this.
Now where are we going?
Now what are we going to do? From the town parking to the microphone, to the warrant, to the social event. Take each one of these and say, okay, this is in place. Obviously, with the town meeting, it's a big education. Okay, from what kind of education? How are we going to do this? What means are we going to get this out to our seniors? The microphone, we know the steps. It's Mark, it's Nancy, it's the training. Check back with Tim on whether or not he's going to be able to get another permanent setting up front, which is going to benefit us. And then on the warrant with the selectmen, ensure, get back to Tim, you 2 houses away, Tim, make sure when they're meeting with the town warrant, if there's anything particular on the warrant this time, make sure, if possible, if there's addressing seniors, get it up to 3. And then for the social event, what can we propose for the seniors here that's not a whole lot of cost effectiveness? And then bring it back.
You just put your whole agenda together for your first meeting.
But I think that's what's next.
Yeah, you're right, and that's why we need to get together and have a meeting.
So we can email, set a date, give it to Pam and.
Well, and make sure she's available. Make sure Pam is available and free.
I'll put an agenda together and then it get posted and make sure that we're going to.
And you board members are welcome to attend those open meetings as well as anyone else. You're welcome to go, so. All right. Yes, George?
I think she had her hand up first.
One
Sorry.
thought, it's a wonderful idea to use the van, and I hope it goes through, because many of the seniors can't and won't drive at night. So the town meeting's at night, so this is bringing the senior crowd in.
Yep, you're right. George?
I think Barbara was echoing something.
I was just going to comment that that's what I've been sitting here thinking about, is how many times I've talked to the seniors about going to the meetings, and it is the fact that they don't want to drive at night, and especially going home. Maybe they'll go to the meeting, and then, but going home is what bothers them. So I like the fact that you thought of parking here and taking them from here. They're familiar, like you said, and it would be easier to go home. But do think about that sort of thing, too. And I'm trying to remind them, too, this thing is going to be for you. It's for you. So pay attention and please use it.
And I think we have to keep in mind that no matter what you put in place, it's not going to please everybody.
Well, that's true. We never please everybody all the time, so, but we do pretty good, I think.
The best you can.
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, when you talk about setting up this next meeting here, you talk about the things here. Don't you have to get confirmation back from Diane as to all the stuff that she's talked about here, from Tim coordinating with Mark here? The warrant thing here seem to be pretty much in place already. So in order to have that meeting, I would think that you need to know that if these are a go, then you,
I think they can do that. When they meet, they need to figure all that out, and that's the purpose of having the meeting, you're right. Absolutely right. They need to sit down and figure that out.
What George is saying makes sense, and
Yep.
Patty outlined a number of tactical steps, which are the steps we have to figure out. And yep, we definitely have to get, the town clerk already committed to giving us that diagram and a description of the signage. We just have to follow with her, but to Patty's point, we just have to have it on our list.
You've done tremendous preliminary work. Now you need to follow procedure for open meetings and move along, so we meet the letter of the law, too.
I think what would help Patty and I is just if these ideas of, Patty outlined what we're gonna talk about at our next open meeting, generally that's just, now it's about doing it. I guess we'd like your just guidance that you agree that these are the right few first steps. Is there something else that should be in this?
I think,
Do you agree with these?
we appreciate everything you've done, and I think you need to sit down, just as you said a while back, and figure out what is your next step and which issue do you want to tackle first as a group, as a board, a subcommittee, and, then come back to the board and say, this is our recommendation to you, this is what we think, you should be doing. We looked at this and we
And
want
I
to
should
tackle
point out
this
that you
first.
only have one more board meeting before town meeting.
Yeah.
So let's
I think.
prioritize things.
I think
according to that.
we submitted this outline because we feel these are the four things to work on, as quickly as possible, so we get the benefit for this May 4th town meeting. So these are the items that we have time reasonably to work on if.
All right,
I make a motion that we
It's
accept the,
hard for us
I make a
to,
motion that we accept the report, the approval of the report, for them to go forward for the next step.
It is not, it's a report of, I guess it's a report, but it isn't really a report. They haven't had their first subcommittee meeting yet, so we can't really call it a report from the subcommittee. So we need to adhere to acceptable practice. All right?
Madam Chair, correction, point of order. This is a report that they brought before this board.
Information they brought before the board.
And it is a report. You can label it however you want it. For the parliamentary procedure, it is a report.
But it is not a
No.
report from the subcommittee because the
It
subcommittee
it
has
doesn't matter
not.
about from the subcommittee.
The
They are the subcommittee. Who
The
brought the...
subcommittee did not meet and they did not vote to submit this to this
But the
board.
report was that they became a subcommittee. They, in turn, went out and did the function.
Individual
Let me talk, please. They went out and did the function of what the subcommittee does. And they came back with this information for update for us. We accept the previous report that they brought to us. So why is it that we can't accept this report that they brought to us, giving them the guidance that we gave to them when they gave us the other report?
Yes, they brought information back to us, and they took that information and they proceeded, and they also were appointed as a subcommittee, but they did not meet under open meeting law legally
They didn't have
and
to.
have a meeting. So what they need to do now is to just go back, have your meeting, set up your meeting. You know where you're going, you've done a tremendous amount of work, and you're right, we are accepting this information. We all have been talking about it, and I don't think anybody has indicated any negativity about the information
we were
whatsoever.
not sworn in until after we met the last time. We were just telling
That's
you, we were
correct.
sworn in after we met the last time.
Correct.
This is a report.
This, our
This
meeting,
is just a,
Madam
wait, just let me clarify something. You met on the 25th of February. Our meeting was on the 17th, and that's when we clarified, you do need to get sworn in. You should have been, and you needed to post, you have to post anything if you're having an open meeting, all right? And that you haven't had an open meeting. You've gone to individuals and gained information.
Yeah.
Valuable information. You know, you've worked hard. There's no question about that. So, yes, George, we can accept the information that they have provided, and then they're our subcommittee. They're just going to organize it and come forth with more, you know, deciding, prioritizing, what do you think? What do we think we can get done first in time for town meeting, et cetera. So, I'm not suggesting that we not accept this information. It's valuable information. But we need to just move on. We're running out of time today, and we need to put this, you know, discussion about this
Madam Chair,
to rest.
as a point of order, I've been on a lot of boards, and I know parliament procedure very, very well. What they did here, they went out and did work, and the only thing that I said was to accept the report. You can call it whatever you want to. Accept the documentation that they sent to us, which is a report that was for discussion here about this subject matter. We did that the last time, and we sent them on their way. The only thing that they're saying here, as Chris is saying, these are the items that we came up with, and what we wanted to make sure is that this is what we need to be working towards and for. And the only thing I'm saying this board is giving a blessing to this report and saying, yeah, we accept that, go your way.
And,
Can I just make the point I was going to make earlier, Madam Chair?
sure.
I just want to call everyone's attention to the document we're referring to, February 25th, for discussion from Patty Hunt and Chris Simone, members of this Council on Aging. This is
Correct.
not a document of a subcommittee that existed or didn't exist.
Right.
It's a document from
That's
two
what I'm saying.
members. And it's, to George's point, a conversation for the rest of the members. And, you know, I think our next step is what it is. But I don't think we ought not to have the board at least reflect on this and say whether or not it agrees.
I'm not
Because
saying that we're not
because
going to do
this
that.
isn't a report of the subcommittee. Time is of the essence, given May 4th is coming, and to Pamela's point, there's only one more meeting of this board prior to.
Right, and I'm only making the point that, I agree, this is information, you know, the last meeting was the 17th of February. We need to just clean things up and make sure that in the future you can say this is a report from the members of the subcommittee.
Okay.
All right? Otherwise, we're in violation of the open meeting law. You are in violation of the open meeting law if you don't post the meeting. Am I wrong, Pam?
Technically, if Chris and Patty meet, who are the only members of that subcommittee, and you discuss any of this material without posting it as a meeting, you are in violation of the open meeting law. That would be an unposted meeting. And I
Well,
don't
we
think
will
there's anyone
certainly
who would
post our
argue
first
with
meeting.
that.
Yeah, that's what you need. That's all I'm saying, is we need to get moving, and that's why I asked, when are you going to have your next meeting, and can we get it posted? Trying to, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I agree, we need to validate your work. I don't disagree with George at all. I think that we do need to do that, and I'm willing to, if anyone wants to second that motion of accepting the information that you and Patty have provided us, I think that's certainly acceptable.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? Okay, and I think we all are in support of you. You've done a wonderful job. There's no
Madam
question
Chair,
about that.
if I could just make one
Yes.
more comment about the open meeting law again.
Yes.
Just one more comment about the open meeting law. There is no violation to pass information around. For example, when I email you all the documents for this meeting in advance, that is not in violation. The violation is when a quorum of any board or subcommittee meets and discusses a topic. That's the violation of the open meeting law. So, just post a meeting,
Okay.
and
Will do.
and you'll be all set.
And you're all set, yeah,
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Perfect.
And actually, it's good that you turn these in as two separate documents,
Yes.
one from each of you.
And it's labeled for discussion.
Yeah.
So, that's okay. All right, let's move on if we can. And thank you again, both of you. What you've done is tremendous.
Yeah, you guys did a lot.
A lot.
And you got other people to agree to do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so, and it's just amazing to me, and thank you, just good information. All right, moving on to the update on the appeal to Littleton businesses, Pam.
That was approved by the Board of Selectmen, and that will be a letter that will be going out to area businesses. And for anyone who wants to look at it, I have some copies here of the actual material that was submitted to the Board of Selectmen, if anybody wants to look at it. I didn't make 12 copies because I was saving a couple of trees. So just take a look and pass it on, or look over somebody else's shoulder.
Oh, you got two?
No.
Oh, two sheets.
Yep, 2
Wow.
sheets. All right.
Read it and tell me about it.
Okay, I'll call you. What is?
Well, it's where I sent to the Board. It's in the Board of Selectmen's minutes.
Okay. And Pam is working on that. Do you have a target date of when you're going to try to get that out by any chance?
So we're doing the appeal in the newsletter, in the April newsletter. That's already been written and is on its way to the printer. That was in the previous document that's part of the Selectmen's minutes. And this will follow on the heels. Haven't picked a date yet.
No, by May, sort of? Probably May, okay. All right, update on the needs assessment, and needs assessment, Bob is on that committee, who else is on that committee? Chris? Yeah? Patty?
Louise?
And, right, Louise.
Let's see.
Does anyone wish to update us? Where would things stand with the needs assessment?
I'd like to thank Pam for the cover on last broadcaster, designating the services briefly, the way that we provide them. That was good. I've gotten comments on that. People are aware of it. It's a lot of time people don't want to take to read things, and this was a summary. It was good.
I stole that, of course, from someplace else. I can update you on some of the nuts and bolts of what's going on with the needs assessment. We are continuing to work back and forth with the lawyers to get the contract, but the gerontology people, Dr. Mitchell, et cetera, have agreed to go ahead and start the work, even though the contract is not technically in place. And to that end, we had a focus group meeting this week with a selected group of people to talk about issues for elders. And the attendees were John Borowski, the veterans agent, Ellen Levinsky, Levinson, right, who is the director of Life Care Center, the nursing home on Foster Street here in Littleton. Tamara Bedard, our public health nurse out of Neshoba Associated Boards of Health, was there. Jim DiGiorgio, I always stumble on his name, I apologize, of Senior Helpers, which is a home care agency that works a lot in the Littleton area, although they're based just across the line in Westford.
Alan Bell.
Alan Bell, right. Alan Bell is a financial analyst, works a lot with elders. He's also a Mason and a Rotarian, which was an interesting spread to have be part of that. Tina was there. Am I forgetting somebody?
Well, Patty came in later.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was everyone that was in the focus group.
The Housing Authority couldn't make it.
The Housing Authority couldn't make it on a Friday, and we had reached out to a couple of other people that were on our tentative list, and they weren't able to make it. Very interesting discussion. I thought it was a fascinating discussion about what they're up against. One piece that came up that I know we haven't talked about a whole lot was mental health issues. We also talked about that gap, the people who are 40 to 65 with mental health and other issues, medical issues, that there are just no resources for those people. Talked a little bit with Alan about long-term care insurance, and that's one of the questions that we're going to, that's one of the questions I want included on the needs assessment, to try to get a figure of what percentage are prepared in that fashion. Because Alan was pointing out that if you have long-term care insurance, then you have some choices, and if you don't, you don't. Your only choice is to go into a Medicare nursing home. Jim from Senior Helpers works a lot with demented people, and they were talking about the number of adult caregivers, which we know is one of the issues that's out there, and definitely needs to be addressed. And John was talking about the number of veterans in town, 700, is that right?
Just remembering the name of the ones that are getting assistance of some sort, that number I remember as being 70.
Or maybe it was 70, right. And then something like 60 to 80% of the people that he works with are seniors. So certainly a large number of them need help and assistance.
Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Through the chair, Pamela, that's great. I apologize for not making it to that. It was rescheduled at the kind of the last minute, so a conflict was created. I couldn't come.
Will didn't cooperate on that. I did
It's sunny and warm today. That's all we know. It's getting better.
Yeah. I was going Thursday also, but I couldn't do Friday.
Okay.
He drove out of a foot of snow, and he said that it was like crossing a line. When he got to the Mass Pike, there was nothing. There was nothing up here at all.
No, we were lucky here.
Lucky we got him at all.
I want to thank the participants who did come to that. So certainly their input's critical. The whole point is to enlist ideas and find out ways that we have to focus, actually create that focus, that questionnaire. So how does that input get factored into the questions in the questionnaire going on? I mean, that is the point of the focus group, is to make a better, more relevant questionnaire. And so that's the question now is, this.
Oh, is that a question?
So the question now is that.
Bernard was there, and he recorded the entire session, and then he will carry that back to Dr. Mutchler. And when they give us the straw man, it will incorporate what they heard at that meeting. That's the next step, is they'll be giving us a straw man survey for us to start to fiddle with.
That's perfect.
And to that end, we have our next subcommittee meeting scheduled for the 20th. That was when we could get a quorum at 10:30. And Dr. Mutchler will be here for that.
Of this month?
The 20th of March, yes. The original timeline was to have that survey completed by the beginning of March. We're not too far behind. What's 3 weeks?
Oh, you'll catch it up. Great. Other questions for the subcommittee membership, needs assessment subcommittee? Sorry. That's another great thing that's happening. It's very exciting. I hope you all are as excited as I am to see the different things that the board is taking on and doing. It's really very exciting, and that's the best word, I guess. It is exciting. So, all right.
Got very positive feedback from every single person that I invited, even if they weren't able to come to the focus group, which was nice.
And again, and some of that education has started about the whole needs assessment, and the more we can do to get the word out about that, I think it's an individual board member's responsibility to help educate people about it. All right, we did not have any new business to put on the agenda, so we're skipping right over that. But right now, we've got a lot going on, really.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
could I ask
Henry?
a question? I got a little 3-minute proposal I'd like to make to the group on an experience that I had here in Littleton as a senior that might interest you people. It's up to you.
I think we would love to hear that. You don't have anything in writing you could hand out to us, so we could look at and then put you on the agenda for next month, which would help us. We're running a little
And I
tight.
will prepare, yes, I'll be glad to do that.
Would you mind doing that?
Not at all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We want to hear it.
Yeah.
There's no question
No,
about
I'm
that.
sure
So,
you do, and it'll be beneficial, but I'll prepare for next month.
thank you. And just send it to Pamela, or you could send it to Pamela, actually, or myself, if you'd like to.
All right.
And then we can make sure we can get information out so people can kind of look ahead.
Yeah, and that's a fine thing to do. In fact, I will send you a written document it's a safety issue, and
Okay.
seniors especially need to be aware of it. I should have been. I'm an expert in that
No,
field.
we
and
would
I
like to
wasn't.
hear that.
And I will explain that in care. People need to know.
Great. So if you could do that, it would help the board members to be a little bit aware, and we don't take as much time during the meeting to try to
Madam
chill on it.
Madam
Yes,
Chair, thank you. I just have two questions. So, Mr. Crystal's been here the whole meeting. I imagine that's one of the reasons you've come out, is this point you want to raise, and he's now not being able to make that point, and and I understand your point, to have something in writing in advance, though, shouldn't we have perhaps public input on the front of this agenda? Because we could have told them that an hour ago. I
we could
think.
do that, we could modify the agenda, and
This is on new business, so he's bringing something new. He can be permitted to tell us, you can give him a time that he can present that to us, but he certainly has the right to present that under new business to us.
I wasn't suggesting he didn't have the right. And I'm more than willing, if the board, feels they want to hear it today. I just suggested, since we are short of time today, we took a lot of time already, that when we have quite a bit left on the agenda, that was my only suggestion. So I'm more than happy to allow him to present it today if the board is willing to stay later and
Well,
move
you
on.
should get his permission. He may not be fully prepared and would like the time lapse to come
Yeah,
back and do it next month, or
Anything
would
is
you
fine.
want to do it? It's up to you.
Doesn't matter. I am, today or next month is fine with me.
My concern was that he says it's a safety matter for seniors, and I think that if that is the case, why don't we give him the opportunity to tell us so seniors can avoid what he should have been able to
Let me
avoid?
be brief, and I'll avoid the dramatics and the excitement, and I'll get it over within
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Basically, Saturday night at 7 o'clock, 2 weeks ago, I had a small fire start in an electrical device in the house. I smelled smoke, I heard flashing. Over the next 5 or 6 hours, and my wife, who's a lovely, sensitive, worrisome person, is smelling stuff all over the house, and sparks and flashing. And at one point, we're standing in the kitchen and the outlets are flashing, and she was becoming very, very worried. Now, when the first one went off, and these are in everybody's house, there are some in this very room. You probably recognize this. It's got the name Surge Protector or Surge Arrestor. Now, these should be distinguished from things that are just terminal strips. Terminal strips are clearly different devices. They look very similar. The reason this looks Surge Protector is it says Surge on it, and it's a little fatter in here because there are electronics in here. And this smells, and you can see it burned on the inside. And I quite understand how it burned. I'm not going to go through that with you today. The smell is terrible. I've got 8 or 9 of these at home now in a bag, and I've got other burned out electronics. And the alarm, that could have burned the house down. We were there. That was good, okay? Secondly, when the first one went off, I got to be thinking, I took this one apart to see how the failure mechanism. And the problem was to do with the power coming from the pole. And that could have been transformer, it could be a loose wire, these kinds of things. And by itself, the power from the pole is not the problem. The presence of this in my house is the problem, because a floating neutral ground, and I measured the voltage, it was up to 127, 128 in a few places, not too high, but anyway, the transients there are what attack the components in there. They can't react to that, so they overheat and they catch fire. And the voltage sometimes could be 400 or 500 volts, far exceeding any voltage that this material could stand. So these do not belong in anybody's house. These are like cigarettes. They're comfort. The marketing people sell them. They're comfortable, they're nice, they're stylish, whatever you want to say. You can walk into Aubuchon, and there's 25 of these things for sale in every hardware store in the country. And they market them like they're safe, they protect. They don't. They're absolute hazard, and you do not want them. There's one sitting right over there on the floor, I think.
What is your recommendation to the
All
board?
right. Well, I will write to the board. I will explain this. I will give you pictures. I'll make a nice thing. And maybe you want to put something in the broadcaster. But to me, we can prove these things are an absolute menace. And I talked several people out of buying them this week in the hardware store. I see them wanting to buy it. In fact, I think there's one here.
I have a question that I'd like to ask,
Go ahead.
a quick question.
Sorry.
Is the fire department aware of this?
Yes, I'm going to say that.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
And perhaps it would be valuable to, if you want to give us that information,
Yes.
and then we can also check with the fire department about
Yeah.
that before we go too far. Yes?
Madam Chair, for Mr. Crystal, so two questions. So that it wasn't an issue, and I know this will be in your write-up, it wasn't about the power supply coming from the pole into your house. The danger in your house was these particular type of surge protectors, or the existence of surge protectors at all.
I would say
Or was it a
yes. I would say yes. The power from the street can be interrupted and it can have problems, but it isn't going to burn the house down. These things were failed because of, if they hadn't been in the house,
Okay.
there wouldn't have been a problem.
And just to follow to the chair's suggestion, would you be so kind just to check in with the fire chief
I'll
and just
do that.
get his
I'll
thoughts
absolutely
about
do
it
that.
and
That's a
maybe
good
put that
point.
in your write-up?
I will do that.
Thank you. And please come back. Please
Thank
come
you.
back.
I will, yes. And, you know, seniors are really, this is a good piece of news. It just came in on this just now. Seniors are gaining in power and numbers. Today, they discovered 6.5 million active Social Security numbers
Oh, my
to
God.
people over 112.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. I think that's. They're all in Chicago.
All right.
I think I'm
Are we ready to move on to the reports?
Thank you
George?
very much.
Madam Chair, I just want to make the seniors aware that Littleton Light Department, they have a surge protector that they will put on your box that will protect all power that's going into your house. And it's like $3 and some a month. I have one on mine. So if people want that, you can get that from the Littleton Department. They'll come out, pop it on.
Call the electric light department in town.
Right.
Thank you, George, that's good information.
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I could, just as a safety statement to anyone who might be watching this broadcast, as well as those who are sitting here at the table, if you smell smoke, if you hear or see sparking of any device in your house, call 911 immediately and have the fire department come out.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah. They'd much rather make a run and discover that it's something that can just be unplugged and carried outside than to carry your body out.
Very good point, thank you.
Yes, and I'm sure they would back me up on that.
Yes. All right, let's move on to the reports, and we do not have Bob here, but Pam, can you help us with the budget?
Well, you do have the reports. Bob did
Yep.
forward them to me, and I made copies. You have the office report and the March budget statement. Nothing remarkable in either of those.
Question on the Mark report, is that the one we on?
Yep.
I'm looking at the amount of money that's the balance on that sheet for the drivers. So we typically looking like, is this what a shortfall that we're projecting on the drivers?
No, that balance is the balance pulled directly off of the general ledger, and it indicates monies that have been expended against this account and monies that have been received. And there's a lag in receipt of monies from March, so we're always off.
By that, I'm looking at 4 months left here. I'm looking at typically 2 months, so we 2 months off with Mark?
Yes, it's about 2 months that they usually lag in terms of payment for us. In terms of shortfall, I've gone back, I've run the numbers. With the town giving us $16,000, which was the money they gave us from my salary that they're covering, we are probably going to end up just squeaking through. Last year we were in the hole. This year I think we're going to squeak through just at $68,000. But remember when I said I wanted to do the appeal, I also want to replenish our van fund, because our van fund was run down seriously by the repairs to the other van and the rentals that we had to use during the time period when it was off the road. So the town has helped us quite a bit with the shortfall. Now, if we're going to run to town meeting and we don't find any other funding, we'll probably appreciate having a little extra money to dip into. We also always offer the van for the election day.
Mhm.
And take people.
Which we're talking about even, making sure that they get used for that purpose now. Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question on this sheet when we get to it.
Is that the office budget?
No, this is on the trial balance summary
The balance
accounts.
Oh, right. That's the next one.
Go ahead, George.
I want to ask the board, we have this paper money in the recycle here, it's just sitting there. Why don't we move the fund to where it can be used instead of just sitting there?
Isn't there a reason?
That was brought up before. I
Yes,
thought
it
we were going
was
to do
before.
it.
And I think, I took to the reason that balance is showing there, and I don't recall what Bob said about it.
My understanding from talking with Bonnie and Michelle is that their preference would be that we spend it, not that we move it and then spend it.
So in other words, just
It's
mark,
available to us. We can
start
spend it.
spending it.
Yeah, we can
Out of
spend it
there.
in any way that we
Yeah.
choose.
Yeah, I suggest that we give the director the okay to go ahead and get that money out of it, because I don't like to see the money just sitting there, and it's been there for a long time, and we haven't used it. So maybe something that the Friends, maybe something that the Friends are doing, that we could have a part in participating and helping that, then take the money from there and use it for that.
We'll take it.
I don't think the Friends need our money.
No, I'm not saying need our money, I'm saying if the Friends are putting on something and we can contribute a little bit to it, why not help them? I think that what they do for the seniors here, there's no reason why, because we all, and the seniors and everybody in the town here that contribute putting paper out there in that container out there, this is the balance of the monies that are left in that account. And why not use it to support something for the seniors?
Perhaps then maybe Pam could think about that and come back to us with ways that she might like to see it spent. That might be a good thing to contemplate, I think.
It's a great
Maybe
point.
Tina could use it.
We've spoken about a couple things during this conversation, the social prior to town meeting, the need to budget some funds for the bus, the driver, that is, for the shuttle.
That
So
would
there,
be-
and I'm sure a lot of other good things too.
Could
We
be,
should move that money into, put it into.
she can look at that and maybe get back to us, on her ideas about it next month.
Yep. We'll come up with some ideas on
Okay.
how to spend $800.
Shouldn't be too hard to do. Okay, and you're on with the director's monthly report, I think, unless there's other discussion about the budget.
So the director's monthly report, as always, is backward-facing. No surprise to everyone that February had a lot of issues around weather. In an unprecedented move, Townhouse was closed 2 days in the same month, which is we're almost never closed. Senior Diner was closed an additional 2 days because they follow the school schedule. Extra Meals on Wheels were provided to people in anticipation of the storms, so people would have meals. Between the bad weather, the poor driving conditions, and then the snap of cold spell, attendance was down at a lot of events. Again, that's no surprise to any of you. I would like to point out that we now offer the caregiver support group for the families of both those who are attending our pre-dementia group, the Littleton Social Club, or the Chit Chat Club as it was known as well as anyone who's caring for an adult in the home. And we've had 2 meetings of that. Our January meeting got pushed into February because of bad weather. So we have both February and January meetings in February, and had a nice turnout. Great discussion, good support to each other about issues that they're dealing with. And that will continue through May, and then we'll be talking to them about whether they want to continue in the summer, and I won't be surprised at all.
And who
if they do.
provides the dinner?
We've asked a business entity who's connected with adult care to provide the supper each time. So the first time was Always There Home Care. The second time was Senior Helpers. This month, it's going to be Life Care over in Littleton. Next month is the Concord Healthcare Center in Concord, and then Neshoba Park is doing it in May. And they do a light supper, they pass out literature. This is one of the things that Senior Helpers passed out to just start the discussion, talking about the different levels a person goes through with dementia.
And is this advertised?
This is by invitation.
Oh.
So it's advertised as in, if you're interested, call Tina.
Oh, okay.
And then Tina talks with them to screen to make sure that they're the right person to be involved with this. It's not an education group, it's not a lecture series, this is a support group.
Yep.
So it's invitation in the same way that participating in the social anxiety group is by invitation. So I'm real pleased with the way that that's going, and getting very positive feedback from the family members. The new library director came down, Sam Alvarez, and gave a talk on the online classes, the free online classes. Very nice guy, and I anticipate we're going to have the same kind of nice synergy with the library that we've always had. We're hosting, for example, a presentation that they're giving on their new telescope. They didn't have space to do it at the library, so you can look for the notice about that if you're interested in looking at Jupiter. We also had both a coffee hour with the fire department, a coffee hour with the police department, and the police department are going to be coming every month to do a coffee hour. Chief King was actually there himself, which was great. Good attendance, good discussion, and then the statistics, and you can see the impact in both January and February of weather on the riders and rides. Any questions? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Seems as though it gets busier and busier, yes, Nancy.
And any new information about the Dinah's Kitchen?
No, it remains in the same spot that it was the last time, that the Phase 1 is completed, the drawings have been submitted, but the bid package has not gone out yet. When the bid package goes out, again, it will be out there for 30 days. The bids will be received, they'll be open, and then the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, which this is their project, would then decide on which bid to pick up on. And then, at that point, I anticipate we'll have a start date and hopefully a completion date.
Madam Chair, the Pamela, do we know what the holdup is?
No.
Well, let's see if we can get a reading from them, because, I mean, either it's dropped by the wayside or something. I tend to feel a little bad that this thing has gone on into years with the town getting bids out. It's sad if they really need a piece of equipment, if this is the process they use for bidding, because we will never get it. And it's almost like we're never going to get the diner down there because they keep doing the bid. There has to be an answer as to what is the holdup. Being a former contracting officer myself, I know something is going on, or somebody just put it to the side.
I do ask my contact before each of these meetings what's going on, and he does tell me the latest that's happening. But if you suspect that they're dragging their feet, If anyone knows anyone who's on the PMBC, or you're welcome to attend their meetings, they're posted in open meetings, you can inquire.
So, are we at the step, sorry, Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
to Pamela? Have they approved the bid package? And now it's at the next step where it actually gets distributed, or are we still waiting for them to approve the bid documents?
My understanding was that the PMBC will assemble the actual documents that will go out to solicit bids. They have received the drawings from the architect. I think, they have not said this explicitly, but I think part of the holdup is that when the drawings were submitted, they didn't have complete costing attached, which puts it then on the PMBC to put the costing together, or as much as they will put together.
Well, anyway, I think either this board should send a letter to that committee and ask them what is the holdup, when they project that they're going to send it out and so forth, because I think we need to know, and I think the people need to know, and I think we deserve to know. This board, if they're dragging their feet on it, then this is a good way to get an answer from them.
We can do that. Yes, go ahead, Louise. I'm sorry, Barbara. I was writing a note to myself about that whole issue.
Good idea, and one of the things with the Friends is, you know how we plan different things every month. And our last meeting, this was a concern of ours, okay, if we plan this luncheon in May or June or whenever, how do we do this, just in case? So it is a good thing if we know something, so that we would maybe move our luncheon someplace else, or plan it a different way, but, or we have to cancel. So we kind of would like to know, too.
We can work on a formal letter to the PMBC asking about the status.
Just so that we have information and are able to plan. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Yes, Chris?
I think that's a great idea, and I'd like to also see if we can invite whoever's the chair of that or a member, maybe to our meeting too, to talk to us directly about it. It would be unfortunate if a month from now we are in the exact same
Well,
we
we've
are
been.
today, which is the same status as last month.
And it's same status as the month prior, so I think we are.
Prior to this point, there was, I always felt there was a decent explanation as far as the process and where we were. This is the first time that there's an unexplained kind of missing 4 or 5 weeks. So now this is the first time that I'm hearing.
It's a lot longer to me.
It's been slower than we wanted.
I think it has
This is
been.
the first time where there's no real explanation, so, and give them a chance to come and talk to us, because maybe there very well is, there is one, it's just.
Well, see, you sound kind of new to the board here, so there's a few of us been around the corner a little bit with this.
Yep, indeed, this is,
And, it'd be interesting to look back. I was going to look back to see where we were.
yeah.
But anyway, we need to maybe see what we can find out. So we'll work on that.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Are you all set? Okay. Outreach Coordinator's Monthly Report, Tina.
Yes.
Who doesn't want to get moved up on the agenda? She's willing to wait. Would you like to get moved up on the agenda?
Oh, sure. I mean, I sometimes hope these meetings get out at 3, but they don't, so my 3 o'clock is waiting
Well,
for me right now.
that's why I always try to move things along, because people plan on 3 o'clock, so, anyway. We can talk about that and move you up if you would prefer.
Oh, okay, that would be great. I do find the meetings very interesting.
And then you have freedom.
Right, so that's great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, it was a busy month with a lot of requests for contractors to clean roofs and that sort of thing. And as we talked about, we don't recommend, but we do compile a list of other residents in the town who recommend some people. And it's the residents' responsibility for making sure these people have the appropriate insurance and we also pay for the services. I think probably under minor home repair, it may look misleading that it looks like we just had one call under 60 and one call for someone over 60, but these were just the clients we work deeply with and sometimes also provide the volunteers that do the actual removal for these two particular people. The caregiver support group, continues to go well, as well as the intergenerational programs that we have. And besides the birthday card intergenerational birthday luncheon and birthday card program, we also have the students from the CASE Collaborative who are now coming. And the next event will be April 2nd, Thursday, from 11:15 to 12 noon, and everyone's invited to come.
Is that in the broadcaster anywhere?
It will be in the April broadcaster,
Yeah.
and the February Valentine's one on February 13th was in that one also.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if anyone has any particular questions.
The only question I have, Madam Chair, is, can you use a different, lost the name of it.
Font?
Font, yeah.
I know what you were thinking about.
To put this up a little bit larger?
Well, we've tried to do that with the program we have, and this is the largest we can do it for the information that needs to be gathered.
Is that
I'll
right?
mention it again,
Well, from what I see, if you do the page set up here, you can go up on it, you can go down on it. You actually can go to the right on it. You should be able to increase it a little bit, yeah.
It is rather small. I have to get myself acclimated to be able to make it out myself.
Okay,
But-
and then even perhaps I can talk to Pamela about, putting it on 2 sheets of paper.
I don't want you burning on more paper. I just think that you may be able, I don't know if you tried it or not, but I see a lot of space on this paper.
I did try it, and this was the minimum amount or the maximum amount I could use to get it on the one page.
Did you talk to Bill about?
I did.
He wasn't able to?
He wasn't able to with the particular.
It's a particular,
There's not a sheet of it here. Somebody blew it.
Custom made
blew-
that
blew
one
it
for
up,
Louise.
You do that for Louise, huh?
Together.
I hope it was okay.
Size, and then I have to tape it together after portrait size.
Oh,
or together like that.
Maybe you could just, with the 12 copies of this, you could deliver 12 magnifying glasses?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be that funny, okay?
Less paper.
If you email that to me, I'll look at it and see if there's any way that it can be,
Mailed to you every month, George.
yeah.
that was on there?
Yes.
In the
Okay.
documents that we receive in preparation for the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
All right, I'll look at it and see if I can do anything to it.
All right, thank
There we
you.
go. All right, thank you. And Barbara, you were on. We missed you last month. You weren't here to give us this report.
Well, everything's fine.
Okay, in the report.
Everything's fine at the diner. And the bingo. Bingo is running smoothly again, so yeah, it's okay.
Plain candy?
It's, well, so far,
No complaints.
no complaints.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but let's say that they've gotten some control over the candy.
A little bit, yeah.
situation.
Okay. No issues? Nothing that,
No,
great.
just
Things are going along.
things are going along.
All right.
Hope the appliances last, so.
Well, that's why I think it's
longer.
important that we do get some kind of an update on where we're standing with that. It's getting a little nerve-wracking, I guess, is the best way to describe it, as far as making it with things down there. All right, Mary, Senior Communications.
Yes, as you all may be aware, Visiting Angels was in Littleton for 3 years. They have moved in January to 498 Great Road in Acton, and that's going to be the headquarters. They provide in-home service for the elderly. It's a care agency, which I think most people are aware of now. The other article I had was interesting. Middlesex Community College has a dental hygiene clinic offer for free. It's provided for preventive and hygiene care to the public at a reduced cost. It's students, but they are being supervised by a dentist, and to call if anyone is interested for days, hours, or appointment. I have the telephone number, which I have an article here too if you wanted to use it.
What you get the number?
The number is 978-656-3250. Okay?
Where are they located, Mary?
In,
Bedford?
well, this article was in the Sun on March the 1st, and it was under the caption of Lowell.
Lowell, they have.
But Middlesex Community College has different, they didn't specify.
Ask who you call. The location, I guess, specifically, because they are in different towns.
Okay, the last and not least was an interesting article for a mobile pantry that helps the homebound in need. They do food programs for the Merrimack Valley. I know that's not essentially important. They do needs for the homebound, the elderly, and those that can't afford food. They shop for them. The director is a volunteer, and they provide a monthly food delivery service to the homes. They provide humongous packages. They have a directory, and let's see now, what else? They are associated with, it's called MACOM, and they are associated with MVFB. MCOM was formed in 1998, and this food pantry is more recently, and if anybody wanted information, I know this is out of the area, but I thought it was a nice thought to, maybe for a future program, to deliver to people that can't get out to shop or have no income, homebound, elderly.
Has Loaves and Fishes ever considered that, Mark?
And the number on that is not, if you want more information, is 978-454-7272. And you can have the article if you're...
They service the Littleton area?
I'm not sure. It says Merrimack Valley. And it gives all the names and the people and it's an interesting write-up.
To answer Pam's question, Loaves and Fishes did a trial program in Shirley.
But they don't deliver.
I didn't
This is a-
finish. I
do
didn't
they?
finish.
She said she didn't finish.
They did a trial program in the town of Shirley where they delivered food. And I just recently actually asked about that, if it was still going on, and it is not. And I'm not sure why, but I will find out when I'm there this week. I will ask the director what happened and why it got disbanded.
Well, then I'll
But they
let you
were
have this.
doing a program in the town of Shirley, and people could call in, their needs, and they would do the shopping and then deliver it to them. But I don't know what happened to it and why it hasn't been continued, but I'll find out.
We used to have our own down here, but it became cumbersome.
Oh, we have plenty of
Earl
clients.
Banks used to go and pick it up for us downstairs, remember?
We have plenty of clients, certainly from Littleton, that use,
They used to do
that
it.
use the
Yeah.
Loaves and Fishes.
Right.
The issue is those that cannot get out to get there, but what Loaves and Fishes does to accommodate those people that can't get out to shop for themselves is that the person who is registered as a client can give somebody a letter stating that they have their permission to do their shopping for them on this date. And that, a daughter, a son, or anybody, a friend, can go to the food pantry and do the shopping for the person and bring the food to them. So they do make allowances, even though a person cannot get in there themselves. They make it possible, so that Loaves and Fishes does handle it that way.
And they do handle more than Shirley, the Loaves and Fishes. They cover at least 5 areas, so maybe.
Well, that's why I was asking about
Yeah.
whether Loaves and Fishes does it, because Loaves and Fishes is officially our food pantry provider.
Mm-hmm.
And if the town of Littleton creates an entity that calls itself a food pantry, Loaves and Fishes will cut us out of their catchment area. So we're always very, very careful to say that we do not offer a food pantry in Littleton. We use Loaves and Fishes as our food pantry.
And the vans bring people over and provide transportation for them to get over to Loaves and Fishes, so.
Right.
So that we do provide the transportation for people, but again, if somebody is homebound and can't get out and even use the van, then there's a problem.
So also for
But they
those
can
that
send somebody else for them to get the food.
Yeah,
So it's not totally,
Disability.
impossible.
right.
And in the category of food, the Littleton Community Farm, some of you may be aware that
Oh,
they've
yes.
started an actual farm project over on the Neff property, the old Prouty land. And they have just contacted us. They are offering us a community-supported agriculture share, which would give a family for the entire summer a box of food each week
Wow,
that comes from the farm.
that's neat. They're on the Prouty land?
Carla Lewis, is just talking with me about that, but it has been approved by her board, so they do have the funding for it. It's just making it happen,
Wow.
which is very generous
Yeah,
of
that
them.
is very nice.
One more thing is on trips. I saw Park and Rec is going to New York City on April 9th for $109, which is, I'd like to go, but won't. And that's the first time that they put in with us that I can remember, which is good.
They didn't put it in with us, I put it in.
Oh, you did?
Because I thought a trip
Park
to
and Rec, yeah.
I thought a trip to the 9/11 museum might be something
Oh,
that
it
seniors would
is.
be
It's
interested
very interesting. It's very good. I've also noticed that towns in Westford, for $28 and $30, go to Foxwood periodically. They give tickets, round trip, and a free lunch. We never advertise that, and yet many, many people, I understand, go to Air because they want to go to Foxwood. There's a lot of gamblers. Seniors aren't supposed to have money, or is it the opposite? It's a hobby and it's entertainment. They don't all drive there. I was wondering if we should try to communicate on that.
Right now, there's a flyer for the trip that Westford is doing to one of the casinos. It's pinned up right across from the office.
Casinos where?
I don't recall.
Oh.
It's one of the casino trips.
There's only 3 in the
We don't
area.
usually receive those flyers in time to get into the broadcaster. Remember, the broadcaster goes to the publisher on the 10th of the previous month. So we don't often receive those in time to put them in the broadcaster. But the posters, whenever I get the posters, I pin them up.
Because that's a price they can be away for the day, socially, entertainment, all my goodies for $29,
And their whole Social Security
$30.
check in one day, yeah.
It's a wonderful opportunity.
George?
Madam Chair, through to the director, is it possible that you can coordinate with the Westford director there and see if, when they get the flyer in, if whenever they're going to do the run, that they could pass that over to us, and
I could ask
we
them.
can
Yeah.
put the information in the broadcaster. We could pass it off to Barbara and have her to announce it on her TV program there.
For your information,
But I can certainly ask them if they can provide it to us.
So you, Madam Chair, Barbara, is that something that you'd be more than happy?
I agree, that maybe we can get it earlier. If
Right.
they know, maybe when they know, they could send it to us.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, if we explain that, you know, we'd like to advertise it to our seniors and put it in the broadcaster, maybe they would understand.
That's a good backdoor way of doing it, but I do get directly from the Westford Council on Aging to my home address, and on the back is always the trips that they're doing, and in the past, we used to coordinate, but you'd go there, if there was a sufficient number, they would come here, 8 or more, I can't remember. They would bring the bus here, otherwise Littleton or wherever would have to go to Westford to meet the bus. We used to do that. They would sign up with them. We wouldn't be involved. It'd
That's
be
right.
a personal thing.
And you can still do
That's
that.
still be the same thing, that all four
Contact
districts.
Westford, and you can get
But
yourself
though-
on the list, and you have to go to Westford and get on the bus.
Right, I would make copies of those. Every month I'd get it, and I'd put it in the trip coordinator of Littleton's trips. Nothing was ever done.
Well, my only thing is, Madam Chair, is that we see if we can communicate, collaborate with them to get that information so we can give it to our people here in Littleton. That's my biggest concern.
The neighboring towns, Concord, Bedford, Westford, Chelmsford, Stowe, Harvard, I've been with all those towns on all their trips. They like to fill the buses. It's not always easy. They welcome out-of-town people.
And we talked about that last month, I think, and the fact that...
I wasn't here.
Pam talked to all the directors at a recent meeting, and all of the directors are saying...
Having a problem filling the seats.
Bus trips,
They welcome Littleton people.
well, the trips are down because nobody's going. So, yes, Chris?
I was going to ask, so it sounds like there's so much information we need to get into the broadcaster, which is a great publication. And I think so the issue is there's so few folks taking us up on those, and room in the broadcaster is at such a premium. I think that's why is that part of the question, why it's not in the broadcaster? These,
No, it's because it never got to the front door. The trips are only scheduled like that with the dates and information, and then the number to call in the local towns that the trip Groton goes on many of them, and I know Littleton seniors go with them, and I have also. It's no big deal. It's just there's no publicity from Littleton.
Well, I wouldn't say there's no, Madam Chair, I wouldn't say there's no publicity from the town of Littleton here. Maybe it may not be disseminated to the point that a lot of people in Littleton is aware of it, but there is information that is made available as to where trips are. You have to look at these boards here, you know?
Well, Pamela just said it's posted on the board.
And there's stuff that's going on, but a lot of the time, you know what? They get it late. You don't get a chance to put a little bit of information in there where the trips are in the broadcast there. And that's why I asked if there was something that she might be able to speak to the director and see if they could get information so that she would be able to have it to put, said they're going to Foxwoods, the casino. And one thing I will tell you,
What are you going to tell me?
people in Littleton, when it comes to seniors, if you got a casino bus going, I'm telling you, there's people still
They'll
going
go.
to the casino.
They'll go.
It's just they don't know sometimes. That's why you're saying they're going over to air.
And,
Well, you say the boards. Not all people, seniors, quote, go to boards, go to the mail site, are aware of these things. If it's not in the Independent, and they don't get the Sun, and they don't come to the mail site,
Well-
how are they going to find out?
they can call Westford themselves.
Well,
if they
there's a
know
lot of,
that-
there's a lot of information, believe it or not, there's a lot of information out there about these type things that's going on, believe me. They are.
I believe you, George.
Yeah, there is, and I think part of the problem is that Pam can't get the information early enough to get it into our broadcaster, correct? And so...
That's not her fault.
But, no, it isn't, and she does get it posted here. And you know what, maybe we need to just let people know they can call the Council on Aging in Westford and inquire if they're
Absolutely.
having a trip,
I
if they want to
just-
go.
I just
you know.
remembered that broadcaster, I'll call it that, from Westford, that comes to my house. I look at it, I circle it, I initial it, I give it to Tina, and I give it to you at the end.
I haven't received any for a
Well,
while.
after the director gets it, Tina gets it, and then you should get it to check it off. And on the back sheet is always the trips. Every month that I get it, I do that as a schedule. Where does it end up?
I don't know.
Tina
where
isn't
they've gone
here.
lately.
Somebody doesn't do anything with it.
I haven't seen any in the boxes. And initially I did, but I haven't seen any for the last few months. So,
I'll fight it up.
yes, all right.
I gotta be.
Thank you, Mary.
So it's the will of the board that I will now print trips that are going from other towns?
No, that was my question, honestly. I'm trying to figure out what the proposal is to solve it. So, I mean, it sounds like, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to learn this. So, lots of towns are offering trips either through the town or making their townspeople aware of them. And it sounds like, so there's a lot of aggregating all that information and getting it into one place. Maybe they send it to us, maybe they don't. Even if we have room in the broadcaster, it comes too late. So it's really not our staff. But the question is, but those trips are still out there. So how do we get people aware of what Westford's doing, Acton's doing, Groton's doing? Is there a way? Is that the?
In my mail, which I pick up in the office, many times the director gets from other towns, puts it in, and then I start the cycle.
She's talking about getting the newsletter. He's talking about getting information out.
Well, if it
and we
comes
need-
back here, it should go out.
It's both.
Well, right, but the new, and not everything, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm thinking, not every single thing that happens in the town of Westford or in the town of Bedford
No, I
is
don't
open
get
to
Bedford.
Littleton seniors.
Right,
No.
but we should just
So-
talk about schedule for a second.
Yes.
So if I receive a newsletter on the 15th of a month, and it has information about a trip, let's say the 15th of April, and it has information about April trips, and it has information about May trips, that's too late to get into, obviously, the April newsletter. It's also too late for the May newsletter. The only potential would be to put in things, if they're in there, that are 2 months out.
Yeah,
And they often don't have them in their newsletter 2 months out.
yeah, that's.
So let's-
Now, Mary, if you have any trips that you know about, you can certainly draw them to my attention, and I will try to get them in our newsletter if the dates match up.
I don't get it from Concord. Louise, when she goes over, brings me their broadcaster. And Acton, I went over to requesting one. They told me to go in the lobby and make copies of it on the copy machine for 10 cents a piece or something a sheet. Thank you. That was the end of that.
And I should probably tell you how many phone calls I get a week asking about day trips.
Okay.
How many?
She didn't say anything, so I guess it's
I have
not.
not had a question about day trips except from you, Mary, for
Barbara got it.
months.
We talked about this at the meeting last month, because and it was on the agenda, well, you have the minutes, though, from the meeting, so, but,
Recording on LCTV.
and it was recorded. So, anyway, Barbara would like to speak.
Just to simplify things, why not just publish the phone numbers of the Westford COA,
right.
the
That's a great
Acton
idea.
COA, for
Absolutely
people
great
to
idea.
use themselves?
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
That's a great
Good
idea.
suggestion.
Another subject, has anyone received their Charlie card? Because we did it in January 21, and today we haven't gotten them.
I think the MBTA might be running a little behind
I wonder why.
in everything.
I
don't know of anybody
curious.
who's received them yet.
I know.
I think with regards to the Maven town here, which is Westwood, would seem to be active with the casino. I just think that if we can get the information from them over there with regards to this, when they get ready to put it in or whatever the case is, we can tell the people here, like I said, we get it to Barbara, she can announce it on the TV, the Pam can, post posted, if it's in time, she can pull a remark in the broadcaster. I think that's the best way to, work at this.
I have to
Right.
tell you that I think this is a really low priority item considering the number of
Right.
people that inquire
Right,
into it.
but with the warmer weather
Which
coming,
is why I have a person that's their tax job is to deal
Right.
with the
okay.
trips.
Yeah. Well, I think getting the information out saying that there is a trip.
I will pass all this along to the person who does that as her tax job.
And if we do get the phone numbers in, that's a good resource for them. And as long as people can call, and just educate them to the fact that they can call and inquire if things are open to people outside of that town.
You know, the sad part, excuse me, George, years ago, the Senior Citizen Club, Barbara Berry, she used to go on overnight, 3 trips, and many places, Canada, you name it, Nova Scotia. Barbara is long deceased.
But a lot of
And
people
the
are-
seniors don't do it anymore.
They don't, and that's the issue.
No.
They're not
No.
participating, so, yes, George?
Of course, when the director says she's gonna pass it to the tax person, does that mean that it has a chance to get into the broadcaster?
No.
No, what I'm going to pass to the tax person is for her to try to find out some of this information so it can get into the broadcast.
Oh, okay, I understand Thank you.
All right, I'm entertaining, yes.
Sorry. The only final
We've had
suggestion,
people that have had to leave because we've gone so far over today, so I
Did you want this?
really feel we need to do a better job at managing our time.
Well, Madam Chair, excuse me, when you have boards, boards always go over a little bit. I think you look at the magnitude of information that came in here for the hour and a half that we had set up for that, we've gotten off probably on some extended tangents here about certain stuff there. But, for the board to go over a little bit about the times allocated, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm just saying that we could do a better job at managing our time, that's all.
This
Yes,
is the
Chris?
first meeting I know we've been this far out.
Well, that's true. You're right there. This is the longest meeting, I think, since I can think about it. But anyway, yes, Chris?
final point, just that if there is a senior tax worker who looks at the issue of trips, if we could just, it does seem to be, the bottom line is our constituents aren't asking our staff for that, so it drives it to a lower priority. But if there's a senior tax worker working on it, and then we could just pull together in a newsletter, I don't know if we should use the broadcast, I was just looking at Acton's really quickly, they don't have it in theirs, probably for the same reason. But maybe in one of the online newsletters, and just post together, here are the resources from Westford Groton, and maybe we could even title one of those newsletters, trips or something, and capture attention, if there's a senior tax worker who already has resource available to this. Because I understand your point, Pamela. You're forced to prioritize, and you're
Yeah.
using data to do that.
And truthfully, I think, if we're going to compare things,
Yeah.
things like the needs assessment, getting people to town
Yeah.
meeting, that's much higher priority than advertising a gambling trip.
And especially since Pamela did the research on that and did spend
I
time.
did go out and
yes.
do the research, I talked with
Yes.
other boards, I also talked with our Park and Rec Department, and our Park and Rec Department is only offering 4 trips this year because they've had such poor response to trips and have
Too
had canceled.
costly.
No, they've had
No.
to cancel trips because people don't sign up.
They just not
The
going.
costs have not gone up hardly at all, and no one understands why, but people no longer seem to be interested in trips.
Madam Chair, I think the purpose of this board is that, we need to ensure that we get information, whether someone think this is a low priority. Well, somebody may think that isn't a low priority to be able to take a trip and go to the casino.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is to ensure that subject matters, things come up that may be of interest to the seniors, since we're not doing. It's just to put the information out there, let them decide whether they want to or not. As long as we make the effort to try to keep them informed, I think we're doing our job as far as this board go.
Well said. And may I entertain a motion to adjourn after Chris speaks?
I don't know if I can go on the casino trip, but we can adjourn.
Of course. Of course
If
you
I
can
can
do.
speak to the citizens of Littleton, The IRS is not calling you.
Oh,
The
yes.
IRS, if they are going to contact you, will contact you in writing. They are not calling you on the phone. You are not in arrears on your taxes, and they will not take your driver's license away. If you have any questions, call the office. The IRS is not calling senior citizens in Littleton.
They don't operate that way at all.
Okay, one
And they
other,
aren't sending emails either.
I am entertaining a motion to adjourn. You can't leave until we adjourn. Sorry. Thank you.
Make the motion.
You're not leaving, I'm just...
She's just standing
No,
there.
he just seconded the motion, so I didn't hear a motion to adjourn even.
Pam, when Carolyn
Yeah, headache.
Sloboda was director